about that. Freudian slip. Did not mean to type that. Alright, stat type is our menu selection. So the only thing that's left to complain about is that I'm trying to swap it from int32, which is, let's see, what's int32? Okay, it's just type def as int. It's bizarre that it's like, oh, no, that's not the problem. The problem is that. No, there is an invalid conversion here. Cannot be assigned to an entity of type stat type. Okay, so it's bizarre that it's only now attempting to enforce. It's only now attempting to enforce the kind of strong type semantics, which is bizarre, but whatever. Just say else. And then we return the mutator's set setting. So Zoner's asking, why is it that most games are programmed in C++ or C# instead of Java? Wouldn't it be easier to code a game with Java than C++ when Java has more automated memory control? So because Java has the automated memory control, you don't. Right? That's kind of the problem. Is that as long as Java has control of something, you don't. And so for the case of something like C++, or even C#, it kind of falls under the same problem as Java. But say Java decides it's time to do a garbage collection, and starts doing a lot of heavy work that eats up a lot of CPU time. I used to see this in so many student projects that did their work in C# and XNA. The problem becomes you suddenly have this game that starts eating up all of its CPU time with things that you don't really care about, right? It's all this garbage collection, and yeah, it needs to happen eventually, but they're making it happen at a terrible time. Say you have something graphically intensive or something even CPU intensive happening on screen, and then it decides, time to clean up all the garbage. Suddenly your frame rate drops to about 5 frames per second for the next 3 seconds, and then your frame rate's fine again. And it'll be fine for the next 2 minutes until it says, time to clean up garbage. And the moment it does that, your next 3 seconds are 5 frames per second. So you lose some of that control, and that's something a lot of people really don't like doing. You never, as a programmer, want to not have control of certain things. Now in C# you can be smarter and do things like say, oh, I'm going to code smartly and not generate a bunch of items that are going to require garbage collection. Or I'm going to just hoard all the items that would cause garbage collection and then release them when I'm in something like a level transition so that I don't have to fight with it. But then again, now suddenly a feature that you're using that should help you is working against you. And so that's one big reason why people don't like, or at least a lot of low-level programmers don't like Java and C# for game programming. Now granted, C# is getting better. Java is unfortunately stuck in the mud as far as I can tell. But still, the lower-level languages give you more control. And that's why it's nice to have something like C++, where if something starts to leak memory, you can tell still. You can build your own memory manager for C++, and you can have better control over it. That's actually what this engine does. The C4 engine has a memory manager built in, and so instead of taking the usual hits that I would for when I call new and delete, it's not quite as bad because what the engine does is it blocks out a huge chunk of memory and says, okay, this is for game use. And that's it. And when you're done, we clean everything up all at once. We just nuke everything in memory. And so it keeps you from needing to do actual memory management in some ways. It makes life a lot easier, at least. So yeah, that's one reason why not Java or not C Sharp. A lot of people do work in C Sharp though. Unity uses C Sharp as its like primary way to code scripts, and I think that's great. I think C Sharp is fantastic for that exact task. Part of it is also personal preference. You'll realize that a lot of programmers who are doing games have been around for a long time. And C and C++ are kind of the oldest languages out there in terms of usability for making games. And so, because of that, you end up with a lot of people who have been programming and are just more comfortable in those low-level languages than they would be in others. So that's another reason. Like, C# is new. It is very young in terms of programming languages. Same with Java, same with Python, right? They've been around. C and C++ have been around. Those other languages are younger. And so you have certain advantages to older, more kind of, I hate to call them this because it's not really terribly true anymore. I mean, you should say, oh, they're more mature languages. Well, they've kind of gone to hell in some ways too. We'll see. We shall see where they keep going. Honestly, I'm happy with a lot of the changes that C++ has been making. The big problem I see is that a lot of C++'s changes have also come from fighting with STL and poor STL implementations, so Alright, I click on you, it breaks, because, oh, actually no, why did that break? Let's break it again. You should not have broken. I click on you, you break. Why did you break? Where did you break? So we go into this string concatenation, and then we're attempting to call getLength on it, and calling getLength on a null. Really? This seems really stupid, but it might be what's causing it to go wrong. No, still a problem. And it's still because one of these is null and the other is not. Great. Destination node get name. Nope. Let's do this. I click on you. What is your destination node? Okay. And it has, oh, when I say get node name, it's actually returning a null pointer. It's not that it's not returning anything, it's that it is very literally returning a null pointer. Ugh. Constant character pointer. Let's see here. Node name equals. We're just going to write out this hunk of ugly logic here. Because the problem is, when we call getNodeName, is that we can also end up with a null pointer in terms of node name. So what can happen is, if node name is a null pointer, then we kind of need to do the same thing here. We just say, okay, if it's not null, just use node name. Otherwise, use an empty string. I think that's what's causing us our pain. You should not be there. You should be here. Yeah. So I click on you. Click on. Gosh darn it. I can't click on things, guys. Okay, not crashing this time. Much better. Okay. That is a good bug fix to have in the system. I didn't realize... See, this is what happens. You write code and don't test it. sometimes I do that. Sometimes that causes me pain later on. Okay, so we've got our bars all set up. Let's actually set the panel up to receive the information. And we should be good after that. So we want the villager stat bar. We add it in, and it crashes. Oh, I know. One thing to keep in mind. Interface. You, stat type, are probably not getting initialized, because I don't think I ever wrote the initialization for this. No, I didn't. So it's probably getting garbage data. K stat. Not stat. K health stat. Why not? We'll just use 0, right? I don't really care. I just want it initialized to something meaningful. Okay, and then let's go back and figure out where it actually crashed so I can fix that. Because I don't think I actually fixed the crash when I did that. I think I just, yeah. Access violation. So one thing we can tell just by looking at this access violation, guys, is if you look at this memory address, this is an invalid memory address, and it means that the variable has been created without having been initialized. So we just called new on something, but we didn't fill it in. And it looks like it's the text. Oh, crap. I know what we did wrong. We forgot to give it menu items. Let's just menu item pointer. Not menu item, sorry, menu setting pointer. And we say that equals this hunk of code, and then we're going to return the menu setting in the end. But first, we say menu setting set menu item string. So our 0th index will be health stat. In fact, I'm not even going to type stat. I'm just going to put health. Health, what are they? Stamina, hunger, and I actually didn't need a 4th. I just kind of muscle memoried that in. I always put in 4 or 5 units. How it goes. There we go. That should not crash. Although I love the fact that the engine doesn't tell us why it crashed, just that it did. I also don't know why I started the game when I meant to start the panel editor, so I can pull this up. Boop. Ta-da! No crash. And you should use hunger. Oh. No, okay, that's good for now. I don't think that's getting saved anywhere, though. And that's a bad thing. In fact, I don't think this is ever getting saved anywhere. So even though their values are good right now, the moment I save, unload, and reload this, I don't think they're going to be there anymore. And let's just double check that that's true. Stat, yeah, you'll notice they're all set back to health, and that's because that's how they were serialized in without that data. I forgot the serialization stuff, which is this code as well. So it may seem like we're adding a whole bunch of code just to make this more flexible when copying and pasting we would have been done already. But the one thing we're doing that's really gaining us here is that we're gaining a lot of code that will help us kind of continue to add little things in the future without having to rewrite all of this. So for example, if I decide to add more stats and more stat bars, I won't have to come in and keep adding any of this. I won't have to re-add this all over again. All I have to do is re-add just the bits and pieces that I want to add in. And it'll make life easier. And I'm just going to kind of snag a lot of the innards off of other things, because this is still pretty common code. What I wrote is nothing crazy that requires its own, like, insane logic. Okay, there's a type. I can even say size of stat type. And then we're going to put the stat type in, and then we're done. So that's packing. Packing is complete. Now we need to also unpack. Unpacking is also nice and simple. In fact, this one I can copy and paste almost without modification. Finally, unpack chunk. Pop. And we need to... I need to make these two match. And data, stat type, true, false, yes. Okay. You compile? You compile. You look like you compile. Of course you can compile. Alright. Let's try that again. What? What's going wrong? Oh, it might be expecting information that isn't there. Crap. Okay. So the problem here, and it's a stupid problem that I just caused myself. Let's see here. When you pack the data in, that's fine. But when you unpack, let's skip our own unpacking phase. Because the problem is the data's not there, right? We're telling it read data in when there isn't anything even there. So what we need to do is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to add all the information. So there's our hunger, your health still, and that's fine, and your stamina. And I'm going to add all that information in. So it's now packed in. Whereas before it was missing the data and we were telling it, oh, quick, now read the data. So now I can uncomment that code. And when I reread this, now that information, first off, it's not crashing. Secondly, this information is still here now, right? Here's health, and this one reads stamina. That's perfect. This works just fine. So now, our last and most obvious check is the actual game. I click on you. Alright, so they have no health, which is bizarre. Oh, crap. Also, oh, it's because I left the window open. Don't mind the crash. That is one of the most known bugs in my system that I've just been so incredibly lazy, I haven't even fixed it yet. And it's not a bug that's going anywhere, so I don't feel too bad leaving it in. Hunger remaining, so we never set health. Because we have this health stat, right? We never do anything with it. It doesn't even get initialized to 0. It gets initialized to garbage. And that garbage just happens to be, I guess, so crazy that it's not showing up. So I'm going to start it at 0. Same with the health remaining. And the reason I'm doing this is because health is something I want to create during the pre-process step. So you notice here, I'm actually generating stamina off of the body and soul stat. And I kind of want to do the same with health almost, except I kind of want to have health be just based purely off of the, this will be health stat. I want to generate almost purely off that body stat. Or at least come up with, like, I don't know. Like, it makes sense that you can will yourself on a little longer if you're very strong. What I'm calling soul is essentially willpower. Let's see here. So body stat, we'll just say body stat times 10. I don't care. And if we're setting stats, well, then the health stat, or sorry, health remaining is the health stat. There we go. Yeah, Intrexa's got the more in-depth thing here. So, in debug mode, most compilers, and I say most because not all, so don't take this to heart, most compilers in debug mode will initialize things for you. Now, not all of them, right? In this case, as you can see, I think both of them were actually getting set to 0 because 0 is the default value for integers. So it was probably just saying, oh, 0 out of 0. I have no idea how to kind of display that, so we're just going to make an empty bar. But in the case of, let's see here. Yeah. In the case of kind of what happens when you're in release mode is that it takes time to set those integers. It takes time to set any variable. So when you are in release mode, it is certain that no matter what you do, when you define, or sorry, when you declare a variable, not define, when you declare a variable, it's going to set it aside, and it's going to set the memory aside for it, but it's not going to initialize that. And so it becomes undefined because it's whatever that memory happened to hold before. And if you had, you know, something else in there that was similar, then it might look right, even though it's not going to be right. So that's kind of the difference between the debug mode stuff and the release mode. If anyone ever wonders, like, why do we have these two things? That's a big difference. And you'll actually notice that this engine uses debug mode. When you call new on something, it sets all your pointers to that 7FC chain, just to show that this has been created, and then it's, I think, 7FD is your deleted chain, to let you know that something's been deleted but not cleared up. And it does that only in debug mode. And that's just purely to make your life easier as a debugger, in case something goes terribly wrong. Alright. So now you should have valid stats. There we go. And I don't actually want to wait the full minute and some. Oh, I know. So what we're going to do, firstly, we are going to make that go a little faster. So we're going to say 10 times faster, just for kicks. So now I click, and you can see it's actually not going as much faster as I thought it would be. I also keep closing the game to make it go 100 times faster. Ready, set, go. I can't. They're not even making it out of the water before. Oh, I'm messing with stamina. That's why. I was wondering why that wasn't working, and it's because I'm messing with the wrong variables. That should take 10 seconds. That should take 1 second for them to run out of food. And then they should starve in no time flat. Sounds good. It's a little... Oh, God. So I'm not sure if you guys caught that, because it moved really, really fast. Let's make that actually go a decent speed. So, there's his stomach is emptying, and out. And now, so you notice the health is chunking away. It's because health is being kind of subtracted in terms of integers. Oh, I'm setting the animation without updating it. Sir Clickalot is asking, what's with the crash on delete? The crash on delete is because I'm leaving windows, so I'm leaving in-game windows open when I'm exiting the game. And it doesn't know to clean some of those up, which causes a crash, because it's trying to clean up memory that is still initialized. It expects when you clear out certain kinds of memory, specifically there's a linked list with a pointer in it, and it's saying, I just need to clear this. And there's still active memory left. So when it calls delete, it's running into problems because it can't remove that memory block cleanly. It's still marked as active because, remember, the engine has a memory manager in here. It's not actually, like, this isn't a C++ standard memory problem. This is a memory manager within the engine is complaining. And it's just letting me know that there's some kind of memory leak, essentially, by crashing. And it's not a good memory leak. Like, that's not something I want to leave around. So it is something I need to fix. I've just been so incredibly lazy about fixing it. Hasn't really gotten done yet. So. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just going to... For now, because we're being lazy. Because eventually yeah, for now we'll take the lazy route, and I'll clean this up in a little bit. We'll probably just write a function that does this for us. And then call that function. So, okay, there goes stomach. And stomach is disappearing at a good speed. And then there goes food. Dunk. And they start dropping like flies. And you'll notice they're not dropping all at once because they have different body stats. And body stat determines how much health you have. Also, oh, there we go. Womp. They're all dead. Okay, so let's move this into a function firstly. Let's just kind of get this shifted and out of the way. We're going to write a little update animation function. It's going to do nothing more. Let's see here. There we go. And it's just going to do that bit of work that we were doing before. And the reason why I'm making this a function, first off, so we have less copied and pasted stuff floating around. That's always like a win. Copied and pasted code is never good. But the other thing is that I'm doing an early exit in this function. By, if you're dead, I'm saying, oh, just return early. And the problem is, because I'm early exiting, I'm not updating the animation as well. Let's just shift this there. Alright. Inside this update animation function that I've just written and not filled in, we're just going to copy and paste this. Get target node. There we go. Yep. Nice and clean. I love how my stream always says, oh, you have 3 people watching. And then I look at the full viewer list and it goes down so far that I actually can't see the bottom. It looks like it keeps going and I just can't. Thank you, Twitch. For all 3 of you watching, and by 3 I mean like, it looks like closer to 25 or 30? Let's see. What's funny is the game directory will actually tell me the correct number. And the correct number is, whoa, 40. Haha, thanks for joining me, guys. I didn't realize there were so many of you here watching. Well, shoot, for anyone new, I'm making an RTS survival game. FYI, all the details of what I'm working on are mostly below in the description. Not all of them. Okay. So we've got them 45. Shoot. Dang. I'm glad you all could join me. Maybe I should make this my more standard time. Start my work around, what, I started at, I think, 3 Pacific Standard? Maybe I should do this more often. Although, then again, my Saturdays always tend to be nice busy days versus, I think I coded, maybe not yesterday, but the day before, and I only had like 10 or 15, not even. It was like 5 or 10 all night, which was fine. I like quiet nights. For all 35 or 30-ish of you who missed the last one, I'm working on putting them up on YouTube actually as we speak. YouTube is processing them, and then I need to kind of mash them together and do a little editing work to remove the parts where I'm away from camera. Aside from that, though, shouldn't be too bad. And hopefully I'll have that one up done, and then you guys can watch it on YouTube. Woo! So, okay, where were we? So we've got the controller stuff in, we've got the interface stuff in, we've got the death mechanic kind of slapped in there. Now we need to make sure that they don't die all the time. Specifically, we need to make sure that if there's food available, that they go and get it. And maybe even stockpile a little bit, so that as they eat, they don't just, like, immediately, like, walk to the storage, grab a food, eat it, and then just, like, walk away and go, I'm hungry, and then walk back to it 5 seconds later. Also, let's, I just realized I don't think I ever set that variable back, so they're going to starve real quick right now. And we don't want that to be the case. Here we go. Starve a lot slower, please. All right. How do we do this? So we need to kind of either break into, actually, we don't kind of need to, we definitely need to break into their job logic somewhere and say, I'm getting really hungry, I should eat right now. Right now, the only way we have to override the AI is to just do it in the controller code itself. Now, we don't want... I'm not sure every frame I want to dig through somebody's inventory and see if they can eat something. I'm more tempted to say at certain points when your hunger is halfway, or if your hunger is, 3/4 of the way, that maybe then we'll do a scan. Just so not every character is scanning through their inventory every single frame. Granted, I'm doing that thing I shouldn't ever be doing that is called early optimization, right? You should never optimize early. I'm just trying to think of a better solution. There's an add-on called T-Board for OBS. Ooh, that would be nice. I am going to create a little open tab T-Board for OBS. That would be really nice. So the few things I eventually would like to do is... oh, is he even here? I'm gonna look through my list, and no. Yeah, I'd like to get certain notifications in. I'm not sure if follower notifications I want to do, but it would be nice to have notifications of things like donations, or notifications of, hey, viewer count would be nice, because yeah, Twitch is stuck here at 3 viewers. Thanks, Twitch. All 3 of them. Okay. Circlical asks, so is this game Nemoria-like? I've never actually played Nemoria. Let's look that up real quick. Nemoria. Sandbox village management game. Kind of. Okay, kind of. Yeah, I can see how you might think it's like Nemoria. So the big difference, I would say, between something like Nemoria or Dwarf Fortress or any of these other sandbox games that I'm trying to differentiate mine from is, one, I have a setting that is completely different. I'm not doing fantasy. Well, I guess it's kind of fantasy, but it's more futuristic than anything else. And the other thing is that the visibility system in Nemoria is very like that, and Dwarf Fortress are absolute, right? You can see all things at all times unless they don't happen to be in kind of in your visibility fog of war system. Here, if something walks out of range, then you can't see it. And the big thing here is it's missing information. You need to figure out what the missing information is as part of this game. So yeah, you tell them what to do, and they build and do things like that, but the big idea here is that you're not just building and working on the village, but you need to go scavenge things in order to survive, and you need to go talk to other settlements in order to survive, or you need to, send out raiding parties, and you won't know if those raiding parties survive or not until they either A, come home, or you send out another raiding party and they find the corpses of the first raiding party. So there's, or they find mutants or zombies or something, and it's like, okay, cool, these guys clearly didn't survive, we need to figure something else out. So it's not just the standard like RTS build 'em up kind of like simulation game. I want to have some extra conflict in here. I want it to be a little deeper. Real Entropy, the game jam went well. As I said earlier, I kind of ran out of steam at one point, and I definitely didn't have enough time to finish my far too grand concept, which is fine. I learned a lot of humility that day, and that's fine. That is actually just what I need sometimes, is a little smack to the face to tell me, oh, right, you're not like the most godlike programmer ever. You are not the next John Carmack or anything, because my ego can get pretty big. It's a little suffocating and stuffy sometimes. Alright, so hunger remaining. So So remember, I've explained this before, but I've said in the past there are kind of two ways of checking things in any system. And your two ways of checking if something is true is you can poll, which is every single frame you ask, is this, like when you're checking for input, when you check for input and you click, you can check for it by saying every frame, is it down yet? Is it down yet? Is it down yet? Is it down yet? And then when it's down, you say, aha, it's down. And then every frame, yes, it's down, yes, it's down, yes, it's down. Okay, they let go of the button. No, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not, right? Every single frame you can poll, or you can have an event-based system that says, I click, on click, it says, yes, this has happened. You do all your processing in that one frame, and then you wait for the button release message that shoots through the system, and then says, okay, now we need to undo some of this work, or we need to do more logic processing based on that button release. So those are kind of the two systems, and I'm kind of fighting with a way to not poll when possible, because when you poll every frame, that tends to mean you're doing a lot of processing, versus if you wait for an event to happen. When the event happens, yes, you do more processing all at once, but it also tends to be less often. And so for something like an AI, if you do things based on events, you spread out your processing a little more evenly than when you do things like, hey, let's just check every single frame, right? That's a lot of processing for a lot of AI. Yeah, I mean, I assume that, even John Carmack has some programming flaws, and that everybody kind of codes the same way, right? You write the code, you test the code, you find the problems, you fix the problems, and then you continue that cycle until you are finished. And that's fine. That's really fine. Urban Mango, hey, it's the guy I've been looking for. So just quick shout out to him now that he's in stream, just to say thanks for the donation earlier. He was the first person ever to donate to the stream. He donated $5, and that is kind of going towards whenever I need money for, say, a sound designer, which I will definitely need in the future, or if I ever decide to pick up a full-time or even part-time 3D artist to do some more work for the game. It is fantastic to have money in the coffers for that kind of stuff, and that is what any donation that comes in will go towards. This is pretty much solely for the sake of the game until the game gets to a point where I can actually give it out for subscribers, or B, put it up on something like Steam's early access. Or my hope is that Good Old Games will have its, I think they're calling it their Galaxy system. I'd like to put it up on the Galaxy system. That sounds really cool. We'll see. Space Ghost asks, your profile says you're strongest in C#. Why'd you decide to build the game in C++? Part of it wasn't language, it was more engine. If you look at the engine I'm using, the engine has very strong user interface stuff. And when I started this project, Unity was kind of the next biggest engine in C#. And so I looked at Unity, and at the time it didn't have all the fancy UI stuff it does have now. And so initially I didn't even, it wasn't much of a decision at all. I looked at my needs, and I looked at the engine's features, and kind of where those two intersected was where I ended up making this game. Obviously that's changed, but I've now got so much progress in this game, in this language and this engine, that I don't feel like swapping over. Just the effort required, I don't think would really gain me a ton, especially since a lot of Unity's stuff is still not the most friendly in the world for procedural generators. Not that this engine is much better, honestly, but it's still, both of them need a little help in that department, and that's fine. It's just something I started with. I am still fairly strong in C++. I work with that at work. So even though I say C# is my strongest, that's because I've taught several classes using C#. So I've kind of had more time to sit here and delve into the minutia of that language. Torpid Sloth, we have been, so he's asking how long have we been working on the project. I think my first SVN commit is somewhere around the beginning of November. of last year. I think. So anyway, how do we make this a system that is polling or not polling, but event-based? Or even, because the one thing we don't want to do is every frame tell him, go get food, go get food, go get food, like every single time we notice that he's starting to get hungry. We want something that just kind of says, okay, you've hit that halfway point, you should probably go eat something. So what we're going to do, we're going to say our previous hunger is going to be equal to our current hunger remaining. And then we're going to do all our subtractions and crazy stuff here. And we're going to say if Torpid Sloth just beat me to a question, so yeah, I'm a software engineer at OnLive, which is nice. It's fun. Let's see, if your previous hunger is greater than, and this is a little bit of polling, but what we're trying to do is create a system where we're doing less work when we check, and then we can send out an event that does more work later. So say if the previous hunger is greater than half, or actually let's make that smaller, a quarter. Let's give it 0.3, just so they have more than enough time to go get food. And the hunger remaining is less than or equal to, I should say, 0.33. It's really, really unlikely that our variable will land exactly on 0.33, but just in case, we want to make sure that we don't have any loose ends. And so that's why you'll see that equal in there. It's really, really stupidly unlikely, but just in case. You know, if you have, what is it? It's like if you have enough people playing a game, a bug that is unlikely becomes pretty much like guaranteed to happen. So it's not the end of the world. So what we're gonna do? So how are we gonna do this? Because right now we don't want to interrupt the current job, or we do want to interrupt the current job, but we don't want to nuke it from existing. And the problem is if we completely nuke the current job they're hanging on to, then we're going to end up just like, we'll drop a bunch of job states if we just overwrite the job. So my thought is two things. One, maybe, it might be possible to add new subtasks to our current job. Maybe. Umnik, I'm kind of working on the idea right now of getting villagers to eat food when they are hungry.
Can we go food shopping tonight? I want to make soup.
Sure. Don't we have soups?
I want to make soup.
Oh, you want to make? Okay. Like start crock pot thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so the idea here is that we're kind of working on getting just this, like, we want to do something that doesn't override their current AI. Okay, so the first most obvious thing we can do, right? We can say, what's in your inventory? If there is food, eat it. Simplest thing we can do. So let's do that first, before I dig into anything more complex. This will give my brain some time to kind of chug along on the other problem, and then when we're done coming up with that solution, we can finish that off. But for now, we're going to grab this inventory. We're going to say for, what's it in inventory of? Inventory items. So, oh, there's a way to do this really cutely that the API documentation had. There was like a for each that is essentially built into C++ in the newest set. Ah, here we go. For, let's see here. Inventory type pointer item in the inventory... Was it just inventory? Yeah. That's really cool. Now, it's not actually inventory type. It's inventory item. Okay. That's really interesting. I wonder what that comes from. Using a range-based for loop. That must be a new C++ feature. I've really not seen anything like that in C++ yet. That is completely new. And very cool. So, we can say item, get item type, k item, hey, if your item is food, we should probably if statement this. That's new in C. Okay, cool. I've been using a lot of C++ 11 features, but I didn't know about that one. The syntax of it, for each item in inventory, I mean, it's kind of messy. Is it? I mean, so it keeps with C++ standards, right? The C++ standard here being that you say for each item in blank, and it keeps with the single symbol as a delimiter of some kind. So I can kind of see how that fits, but it's just new. It's kind of crazy looking. It's definitely not messy. The more I think about it, the more I kind of understand why it probably was done and how it fits C++ as C++ currently exists. Hello, Lumpex. What's up? Just making people not starve. Let's see here. So if the item is food, ooh, so the only thing I don't know of is we don't have an index. So I can't just iterate through the way I would like to. And I don't know how this would react to having an item removed from it. I know for each loops in C#, it really doesn't like it. Yeah. I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way. Because I'm going to have to remove an item from the list, and I'm not sure how it would respond to me doing something like that. Okay. What do you mean item is unidentified? Item is right here, jerk. Oh. Forgot that. There we go. Umnik, all the details of the engine I'm using are down in the description below. It's essentially a proprietary game engine that I own a license for, which is really cool. Yeah. Anyway, so if it's food, we are going to break out of our loop, and we are also going to, let's see here, hunger remaining plus equals, for now we're just going to set it actually back to full. Okay, hunger, okay, what was that? Hunger total? No. Oh, equals the hunger stat. There we go. And we also need to remove the item from the inventory. I know if I actually iterate through the list in reverse, I'll be fine as I remove things from the list, but it's just kind of bizarre to do that because you don't want to invalidate the iterator, which, of course, as Zenris just says, people are beating me to this. I'll just stop talking, let my chat take care of this for me. But the idea, the reason why you don't want to, I guess for folks on YouTube who can't read the chat, the idea why you don't do this in C# is it invalidates the iterator because the iterator likes to have a pointer to the next object, and if you delete something out, you tend to have to modify the iterator as well. I've seen ways around it in C++, but the general thing is that if you have a for each loop, you don't want to be modifying what is inside the array or list. For each is just for doing work on the items themselves. without actually having the objects get removed or added into the list. Later, Windspeak. Later. Alright, I'm all caught up on chat. Let's actually remove this. Remove. Uh-oh, dog escape. Remove. There's no remove at, it's just remove. That's fine. Remove the item. And then hunger remaining is full, and then we set. So, now somebody should be able to, at least if they have like food in their inventory or even in their hands, they should be able to just eat it and be fine. So let's try that first. Make sure that this works. Which means we're going to have to build ourselves a storage barn, and then we'll have to put down a farm somewhere. And I'm going to put down a couple farms just to make testing this easy. So here's this guy. And you'll notice his hunger's going down, and he's taking the time to like put food actually into the storage. Like here goes the food storage, and he's actually putting it away, which is fine. And now I'm waiting for his... I probably should have made his hunger drop, but at this point we're almost to the point where he's gonna get hungry enough to eat, because it was at the 1/3 point that we did that. So I'm just waiting for like whoever keeps resupplying the storage shed with food. I'm waiting for that person to have food and get hungry, at least hungry enough to eat it. Now the problem is if he doesn't have, I just realized, if he doesn't have food in his inventory at that exact moment when he hits that point, he's not going to eat. And that's probably what he just ended up doing, is he just didn't eat because he was too busy not having food in his hands for one reason or another. Shouldn't I time it with the time of day? Yeah, yes and no. I don't want this to be... If you time it with time of day, then things get a little messy. And also, keep in mind, I'm just building features right now. I'm not trying to balance them or put them in the right place. I'm just trying to put them in place, and then I can balance them later. Because I just want the systems to exist and interact with each other before I make them... I want to make them interact with each other before I get them to balance out, because I have a lot of systems that are going to be talking to each other. I would make an if statement before the for loop in a tick. What? Okay. So let's see here. So there's one more quick and easy thing we might be able to do that would make this easier. And that is, where do I do my inventory control? That is the question. There should be an add. Oh, you know what? That might just be a simple enough function that it's still sitting in the header. Get character name, yada 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 yada. Where is inventory stuff? Okay, inventory item type count. Remove inventory item, get... Where's an add? Here, this sucker. This sucker, let's get this out of here. And this should be... Whew, this should pretty much be at the bottom of the villager controller stuff. So what we're going to do is we're also going to say when you pick up an item, if it happens to be food and you happen to be hungry, eat it. That should do the trick. Should. We'll find out if that's actually the case. Void villager controller. And what was its signature? That. Which we can simplify to that. And so instead of just appending it to the list kind of blindly, we can say if the item's type is food and my hunger, because this is something that's not going to happen too often, right? You shouldn't, as a character, be receiving and sending items all the time. So this is something we can consider an event, and we can handle this in a much better way than we would a lot of other stuff. So if the hunger remaining is less than the hunger stats, actually, I'm in the villager controller. I can access these pretty directly. Get hunger stat. So if it's less than this divided by 3. We should probably make a, I don't know, some kind of smarter, non-hard-coded value for that. But we'll figure that out later. Let's see here. So we're going to eat the item. So hunger remaining is going to be equal to the hunger stat. So that should actually make it easier. Okay, so at least the people... Oh, and now that I think about it, let's make hunger go down faster. Just for testing purposes. Boom. There we go. So now he loses 10 hunger per second. There it goes. Quick, guys, build things. So you don't starve. Okay, who is going to be my... Are you my farmer? Oh gosh, he might die first. Oh, but he should have food. Oh, and they're all dead. Let's try that again. Also, let's put... let's put a few breakpoints here. Just to ensure that this is kind of working as intended. So there's that. Oop, and there's that. And let's put down the farm. So we know that everybody at this point is not gathering food anymore. Oh, crud. Okay. So we might need to change this number just so they don't starve before they can do anything else. Because right now they're starving before they even have a chance to... Let's just... let's see. There we go. That should be better. Quick. Build that. That's fine. I actually don't care right now. And then build that. And... that. One of you so okay, he's putting seeds on the farm or sowing seeds on the farm. One of you should come back and start collecting things. Okay, his food's getting pretty low. Ha! Okay. What have you collected? You have collected food, and your hunger remaining is at 30. So your hunger remaining is getting set to 100, and then we're done. So somebody just ate food. Somewhere. One of these suckers is not dying. This guy should stop dying in a moment. Ah, look at that. Hey, hey, they're not starving. Fantastic. And neither are you. Whoops, I opened a bunch of windows for this one guy. So you can see a couple of them are not starving, right? And granted, right now the starvation meter is dropping so quickly that they are actually starving in a fairly short period of time. But yeah, every time, yeah, I don't know how to pronounce your username, but I'm just going to call you Big. So yeah, Big, he checks if he wants to eat every time he has a new item. The other time he's going to check is when he gets hungry. If he doesn't have any food in his inventory, he should go collect food and add it to his inventory. And he should even stockpile some, if possible. Which is going to be funny, because we're going to end up with, like, one guy who's hoarding all the food and will be happily sitting there eating, doing his work, while everyone else starves. At least until the farms get running, right? And this is kind of why most games start you with some resources. Okay, so let's get other folks who exist. Let's see. So if we have to add a boolean here, eaten is false. We're gonna say